Hello guys, welcome back, or welcome if you're new. It's Christian from Emotions in Wine. Fourth chapter of Etna Wines. As you know, if you follow, I am a big passionate of volcanic in general, Etna in particular. It was quite successful, especially the first chapter. Link below in case you... Actually, I recommend to watch that first if you didn't, because there I explain all about the grapes, the region, etc. Today, as I did in the last few, I focus on the wines, the wineries, and some info about the rest. So the main starter is the first episode, because there I talk about everything. So this is the last one for now. I did Bianco, Rosso, Rosso Crus, and now Bianco Crus. Something that I know, something different, even curious. So interesting video also for me, because basically I never tried both of these wines. As said, Etna is very hot region in Italy since a while, more and more even abroad, of course Western world mostly, but even Asia already several years. So step by step is becoming more and more popular. Prices going up, but you can still find great wines for reasonable prices. The Crus are becoming a bit tough. Even in Italy, we are talking about 40, 50, 60 or more euros even for the whites. Anyway, I picked an horizontal 2020 white, so it's interesting even when you think the comparison to Burgundy or others, to see something that has already almost 5 years. So it will be a nice tasting. Palmento Costanzo, Etna Bianco, Contrada Santo Spirito 2020, 12 alcohol only, and Tenuta Terre, Nere, Etna Bianco, Cuvee delle Vigne Montalto 2020, 13 alcohol. So this is completely new to me. I heard a lot about, so I'm very curious. They have Passo Pisciaro as winery location, and Santo Spirito is the main property where this vineyard is. In Passo Pisciaro, so on the northern slope, this is at 750 meters, while Terre Nere is also located in that area, in Randazzo to be precise. But this is, I think, the first wine from the south there. So I recall something I said in the first video about the crescent moon shape around the volcano where there are the vineyards. The top are in the north, some interesting wines coming also from east. South is something still more in discovery mode. And he said that Carricante, so the grape for Etna Bianco, is doing very well in the south, in particular in this vineyard, which is in Biancavilla village. This is 950 meters. Of course, south, more exposure, so they need to be higher, the vineyards. It's very hot, but at least more excursion in the night, so that helps. But anyway, the wine has a bit more structure than the northern slope, of course. So Carricante, 100% for both. The other grape mostly is Cataratto. There are some other in minor percentages usually, but today we have 100% both. Single vineyards. Vinification is also a bit different, so it will be an interesting panoramic also of the Volcano, because it's the first time I try something from the south. Even talking about Etna Bianco Simple or Rosso, never tried. So I'm also very curious. I start to pour them. They are open a while, but they are important wines. We'll do also next day tasting tomorrow. Very necessary. You can maybe see already the colors quite golden, more intense Terre Nere. The other has still a touch of greenish on the ring, but is golden already. So showing less age in a way, Palmento Costanzo. While Terre Nere has richer gold. So the concept of Crus in Etna, as you may know already, is related to the contrade, which is a bit more ample and generic, because contrade is referred to locality, so it's not a single vineyard really, it's a bit wider. That's why Marco De Grazia, the owner of Terre Nere, since already a long time, is focusing a lot on this. He's already doing on his own Premier Cru and Grand Cru like in Burgundy, but that is not anywhere written. Is his zonation, also based on the soils, etc. But there is more focus on these things. Montalto, so the one from Terre Nere, is not contrada. It's just a single vineyard place, but it doesn't have the classification of contrada. Majority of the other crus are contrade, some very large with a lot of properties divided by many wineries. That is an issue also for the organic farming, etc. They are both sustainable. In this case, Palmento Costanzo has organic certification. Santo Spirito is one of the famous crus in the northern slope. Palmento Costanzo is around 15 years, so 2020 was about the 9th or 10th harvest. It's a local family, mother and daughter. They renewed the Palmento, so the old cellar where in the old days they were making the wine. All renewed, they bought a lot of properties, mostly in Santo Spirito, but they also have something in the southern part, and modernized a bit the cellar. They talk about elegance and not invasive oak, but they have several. They're experimenting also a lot, as I've seen. They have also oak eggs, not just bigger or tonneau. Anyway, they don't have the big cask which was traditional on Etna, so they are a bit more on the modern side, besides the steel. While Terre Nere is focused on Burgundy concept since beginning. He was a big guy in the trade in the wine. He's Italian American, and he's using French and barriques and tonneau since always, but not in this case. So Palmento Costanzo focused on quality, on elegance, on sustainability and organic as much as possible. They were able to buy good properties with old vines, so this case is up to 100 years, all Alberello, both of them. So the classic bush from Etna, and vinification in this case is still and big casks, then aging in still a big cask for 1 year, plus 1 year refinement in bottles. So at least 2 years something before release. The soil in Santo Spirito is dark with sandy, ashy, and a bit of rocks on top. Quite similar also the other case we see is a bit the classic, dark basalt mostly below and the top mostly sandy, which is good for the elegance. So let's see the first impression. Refined. So finesse really top, I would say immediately. And you have a lot of things all together. You feel you can smell immediately that there is some oak, but very delicate. But that may have been a bit more intense in the first year. So I guess what they are meaning when they talk about the gentle touch of the oak. But there is still, but actually very refined. I like it a lot. And giving this creamy, but of course the first thing is the smokiness, then the fruity and floral. Of course here the typical citrusy that we have seen in the young ones is not that evident. They are almost 5 years old. Very, very attractive, I would say. So first impression, quite impressive. As I said, I never tried before. I read a lot about them recently, so I was curious to try it. Santo Spirito is also one of the vineyards that I tried. Terre Nere is famous also for his Santo Spirito white. Yeah, the complexity is also quite good, quite changing, very pleasant. It's really calling you to drink it. Quite light, the alcohol, as we see, 12. Sometimes you have to have north slope, so less exposed, 700 meters, so it's quite high, even if it's Mediterranean, a lot of excursion. And 2020, I can say something about the vintage, in this case being horizontal, was a challenging one, a bit more rainy, especially during summer and before harvest. So some had struggles, but especially whites, very elegant, acidity a bit higher than normal, and also the later ripening reds, so depending also on the location, were super outstanding with higher acidity. So wines very good for longevity, so for aging. That's one of the reasons why also I picked 2020, because I wanted to find the same vintage. Here is still very mineral, very fresh. Of course, it's not that intense, the structure, the alcohol is low anyway, but very pleasant, mineral, fresh, and keeping you, I still feel it after a long while. Yeah, now changing from the smoky fruit, some floral, now it's going to some herbal. More and more, there is a touch of spice from the oak, as I said, but mostly it's the creaminess, also rebalancing a bit the minerality and acidity. I think that it will give a lot even tomorrow. This is a great wine. I'm very impressed, very impressed. Yeah, everything on point, everything there. Only thing we can say is not super long. Probably also the alcohol a bit lower matters for that, but fantastic drinkability, great aperitif also. But of course, with seafood is the best match. Still there, this mineral, this fresh, this creamy. Impressed, impressed. The age of vines helps. Is in this vintage and this expression is really top expression of finesse. So let's start with the Terre Nere. So very famous, inspired to Burgundy. He was one of the first. He started in early 2000. Of course, there are only a few historical like Benanti. All the others are in the last 20 years or so. He was one of the first wine dealers, so marketing guy. So he made a big contribution in the knowledge of Etna in the first period, especially. He experimented a lot. He was the first to use small casks, even for the white Crus. He said that he tried for several years these south vineyards, and this one was quite impressive for him for 100% Caricante. That's why when he was proposed to buy it, he decided immediately. Soil similar, I said, dark basaltic with the top more sandy, and 900, 950 meters. He is not using oak here, and unlikely majority of his top wines, because of the location. So he's also telling that this is a bit mellow, and you smell it immediately. But even the color already is telling it. And the noses remind me of some warm Burgundies, really. Like warm vintage, warm location, where there is more mellowness and roundness. Like the ripe fruit, flora anyway. Touch less mineral than the other. 13 alcohol, as I said, so this is a bit fuller. So that also influences a bit in the finesse and in the distinctiveness of the flavors and aromas. Has a creaminess also, even without oak. That is probably really the expression of the fruit. Different completely from the northern slope. It's the first time I try from the south. Is different character. So around there, even different notes, I would say. But also here there is a touch of herbal. Rounder on the palate. There is still freshness. There is minerality, but it's rounder than the other. indeed, no doubt. I was expecting a lot from Marco de Grazia. I know him since a long time, since he picked this place, and then the vintage he claimed was perfect for this vineyard. But I would say this ages less well than other of his Crus, probably because he's on the south. Even if it's higher altitude, it's still south. Also less complex than the other one. He's changing little, at least for now, then we'll see tomorrow. So mostly these ripe fruit, some floral, as said, less mineral, touch of herbal, but very elegant and gentle, indeed, that's for sure. But the other has more finesse. So he didn't do oak, only 9 months on fine leaves and then bottle. So I think he released earlier than the other. Is in perfect drinking window for sure. The other also, but the other has more aging potential. The color itself was telling already. Even if it has more alcohol and slightly longer, being suppler, the other is more vibrant. So it's more mineral vibrant, so gives you a bit more on the palate than this one. So I'm curious to see how they will evolve tomorrow in the next phase. Here we are 24 hours later. So the wines didn't change a lot even yesterday night. Let's see now. They evolved a bit. In particular, Palmento Costanzo, which, as you've seen, is the one I appreciated the most. Is really a great wine. Smoothen a bit that touch from the oak, so the creamy and touch of spicy. Came out a bit more the citrusy fruit, especially on the palate. So with the minerality, the acidity, even this citrus fruit, but even some sweet fruit. Now still starting with the smoky, first of all. Yeah, but now there is less that from the oak. It's quite normal also with the breathing, the oakiness in the aging especially, it gets reduced. So smoky, fruity, the herbal, the complexity is very good, as I said yesterday. Only that little note about the structure, but it is an amazing wine, especially considering that they are just 10-15 years around. It's a young winery. And the finesse is outstanding. Even more vibrant today compared to yesterday. So this is perfect drinking window, really, literally. Can age well, long, but now is a great moment to drink it. Give really emotions, no doubt. Terre Nere showed already more ripeness, the southern exposure, the mellowness, King's fruit besides other ripe fruits, classics of the mature wines, the color as we said. So this is ripe. This is over the peak, I would say. Was for sure better sometime earlier and is not to age longer at all. Of course here no oak, so that helps usually to give a bit more structure, but it's mostly because it's the south slope. Even if it's higher altitude, it's warmer. So in the end, they have less aging potential. And didn't change really that much. I reconfirm, it's still more pleasant on the palate than on the nose. The nose shows more maturity. The palate has still a bit of mineral fresh, but also quite supple. So indeed, it's a good wine, even elegant, but a bit more on the mellowness and ripeness. Great tasting, surprise, interesting to try different things. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment, support us to let us grow. Thank you very much and salute.